all lawyers, I was not aware of the number has swollen to 600 people, advocates throughout India, but it's a very good thing. We are reassuring the Chief Justice of India that we are not here criticizing this kind of tactics being adopted for their own political gains. And our judiciary as on today is the best judiciary in the world. So any attempt to tarnish their image is politically motivated. That is the crux of the entire letter which we have written to CJI.
Absolutely. Also, Mr. Mittal, I'd like to understand better, perhaps you can explain, when we talk about how the judiciary is working as an independent body, of course, the opposition has the right to free speech, and whenever they are making an attack on the government at the centre, the fact of the matter is that the judiciary's decisions always come to be questioned whenever the government at the centre is being attacked, and henceforth the dichotomy between an independent judiciary and an executive is very important to establish at the moment for the highest court of the country.
Absolutely, I agree with you, but the constant effort, we were really pained, and all of us, we were waiting for such a long time that what is happening, and we only wanted to point out to the judiciary that the right thinking people in the society, in the advocates, think otherwise. Because the judiciary cannot come out and speak openly. They are being constantly attacked outside on social media and every platform once the decision doesn't go in their favor. And I call it a lobby of lawyers, which belongs to some political parties, or they are representing certain political personalities or some idea. Once we have a judiciary under the constitution, if the judiciary decide one way or the other way, as a lawyer, our duty is to accept it. But the unfortunate part is that is also being criticized selectively. If it goes in favor of government, then they criticize. If it doesn't go in their favor, then they criticize. So this is the entire idea of writing the letter to the CJI.
All right. Many thanks to you, Mr. Mittal, for joining in on CNN News 18. And with that, let's quickly cut across to Maharashtra, where the Shinde Sena is currently presiding over a press conference. As we all informed you earlier, actor Govinda is being inducted into the Shinde Sena. Let's quickly listen in. All right, so those are the latest visuals that we are bringing to you of Maharashtra's CM Eknath Shinde inducting actor Govinda. As far as the actor is concerned, we are learning that he will be fighting from Mumbai Northwest seat, and the bitter irony is that it was this very seat that was fought by actor Govinda in the year 2004 when he fought for the Congress party and defeated the BJP. The tables have clearly turned this time round. Let's quickly go across to Yesha on the phone line. Yesha, share the details with us.
Yes, in fact, what we saw was last night. For the last few days, there was clear indication about Govinda joining the Eknath Shinde faction. However, there was no clarity on it. However, yesterday when we saw, there were pictures last night of Shiv Sena leaders from Eknath Shinde camp, Krishna Hegde, sharing a picture of Govinda with him from his bungalow. And now, just a couple of while back, we saw Govinda along with Kareena Kapoor and Karishma Kapoor. They both went to Varsha bungalow. They met Chief Minister Eknath Shinde, and now, in fact, there was an announcement that was made around that time that there is going to be a big Praksh Pravesh that will take place in Shiv Sena, and this is why we see Govinda has been given this ticket. In fact, this is like you've already mentioned that he contested this very seat for Lok Sabha in 2004, wherein he defeated Ram Nayak from BJP, which was a big win for Govinda at that time. And that time he contested from Congress's ticket. Here, however, we see that while there was supposed to be an announcement today of the Mahayuti, which includes Devendra Fadnavis, Ajit Pawar, and Eknath Shinde, they were supposed to announce their list today. But amidst last 2 days, we've seen there have been 2-3 names which have been added to the whole Mahayuti camp. Last night there was Navneet Rana who joined BJP. Her name was announced in the list by BJP, and now there is Govinda who joined along with that. Of course, this entire decision adds to the whole Bollywood touch to it, considering the fact that he came in along with two Bollywood actresses as well.
We're just going to, Yasha, stay with us. Let's listen into what the actor has to say.
Me, आदरणीय शिंदे साहेबांचं, आदरणीय एकनाथ शिंदे साहेबांचं मी धन्यवाद देतो. तसेच शुभेच्छा प्रदान करतो. आजच्या या दिवशी मी या पक्षात प्रवेश करणे ही मला असं वाटतं की देवापासून मिळालेलीच कृपा आहे व प्रेरणा आहे. मी 2004 ते 2009 सुरुवातीला पॉलिटिक्स मध्ये असताना बाहेर पडल्यावर मला असं वाटलं होतं की आता पुन्हा कदाचित मी या बाजूला दिसणार नाही. परंतु 10 पासून 24 या 14 वर्षाच्या वनवासानंतर सुरुवात रामराज्य जिथं आहे तिथेच त्याच पक्षात आदरणीय एकनाथ साहेबांच्या कृपेनं आज मी पुन्हा या पक्षात आलोय. व आई पाय ही प्रार्थना आहे की या शुभेच्छा या मनापासून आपण सगळे दिलेले कृपा त्याला मी इमानदारीनं मी कसं पार पाडेल अशी आई पायी प्रार्थना करतो. विश्वानि देव सवित दुरितानि परासव यत् भद्रं तन्नासव त्र्यंबकं जजामहे सुगंधिं पुष्टिवर्धनं उर्वारुकं बन्धनान् मृत्युर्मोक्षयमामृतात्. कालहर दुःखहर दारिद्र्यहर कष्टहर रोगहर हर हर महादेव. गेले 14-15 वर्ष मी हे दोन जे आईपासून मला मिळालेले हे जे मंत्र आहेत तेच म्हणून मी माझे काम करत होते. कारण मी फिल्म लाईन व पॉलिटिक्स यापासून लांब झालो होतो. मला असं वाटतं की आपली जी कृपा झाली आहे मी धन्यवाद तर देतोच, परंतु मला मिळालेली ही जिम्मेदारी किंवा काम हे वफादारी व इमानदारीने मी वाजवेन व आर्ट अँड कल्चर सब्जेक्ट आहे. मी स्वतःला धन्य समजेल जर का तुम्ही विरारपासून मी बाहेर पडलो आणि आज अख्ख्या जगात नाव झालंय जे, तर लोकांना पण असं वाटलं पाहिजे. कारण की महाराष्ट्राची ही जी भूमी आहे ही चंद्रकृपेची ही अशी एक स्थान भूमी आहे जिथं हे जगात जगबगणारे सगळे जे सितारे आहेत ते त्याला जन्म देणारे हे स्थान जे आहे संतांची भूमी आहे. आणि आपल्या देशात चित्रपट असो किंवा चित्रकूट असो जे काही आहे ते आर्ट अँड कल्चर ला कसं काय ते सरस्वतीच्या कृपेनं अख्ख्या जगात जे आहे आज हे आहे. आणि त्यात मला असं वाटतं की फार वर्षापूर्वी मी हे लाभवत नाही ना.
After many years, it feels like I'm back in politics.
मला असं वाटतं की मी फार वर्षापूर्वी 10 मिनिटाची स्पीच दक्षिण बद्दल दिली होती. आज
Years back,
पुन्हा ही 10 मिनिटाची स्पीच जी आहे
I had gotten that speech.
देवाच्या कृपेनं ही स्पीच
Now, when I contest again from this seat,
व्हावी अशी मी प्रार्थना करतो.
I'll work hard
कारण
and
फिल्म
I
सिटी
hope I can deliver well
हे
on
जे
this
आर्ट
very
अँड कल्चरची
seat I contested earlier from.
ही जगात असल्या स्तरावर जाऊन पोहोचू शकते जी जगातली सगळ्यात मुंबई इज द मॉडर्न सिटी आणि त्यातली जगातली
With that, I'll be able to reach out to
जो काही असू शकतो
a lot more people.
इन फ्युचर. मला असं वाटतं दॅट इज फिल्म सिटी. ती मॉडर्न तर आहेच. फार फार वर्ष झाले आम्ही
years.
जी मुंबई बघायचो ती सुरुवातीला त्यापासून आता जास्त सुंदर दिसते, प्रोग्रेस
Mumbai,
दिसतोय.
as compared to then,
आणि हा जो
looks very different now.
सब्जेक्ट आहे
It's
हा
more beautiful today.
एकनाथ साहेब आले तेव्हापासून मुंबईमध्ये जास्त हा दिसतोय.
Ever since Eknath Shinde government has taken over, be it the air, be it the roads,
काम जी आहेत
everything is
सौंदर्यीकरणची
cleaner.
असो किंवा जी प्रोग्रेसची असो ते सुरुवात झाली आहे. मला असं वाटते की माझ्यावर जी वर्षानुवर्ष
I feel like
शिवाजी
the years that I've spent,
किंवा आदरणीय बाळासाहेब ठाकरेंची माझ्यावर कृपा राहिली. मी
I've seen
ते माझ्या आई वडिलांचे चांगले संबंध होते त्यांच्या
Mumbai from Balasaheb Thakre's time.
की मी अशा
Also, my parents have seen what Mumbai looked like.
परंतु ही कृपाच आहे. आणि जास्त मोठे मोठे शब्द न सांगता मी धन्यवाद देतो.
But now, they are living up to that mark. I will not want to speak much.
वर्षानंतर मी मराठीत यापुढे कधीच एवढी हाँ मैं बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूँ आदरणीय एकनाथ जी का. मेरे साथ में मित्रगण यहाँ पे आए हुए हैं, मैं आप सब लोगों का धन्यवाद देता हूँ. जो जो लोग यहाँ पे पत्रकार वर्ग से आए हैं आप सभी का धन्यवाद देता हूँ. और ईश्वर से प्रार्थना करता हूँ कि जो काम मुझे मिलेगा मैं ईमानदारी के साथ वो काम कर पाऊँ, ऐसे माई के चरणों में मेरी प्रार्थना है. और जो मैंने मराठी में कहे हैं आपको उसको हिंदी में आप जी मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि मैं 2004 से 9 तक में था, फिर मतलब के पॉलिटिक्स में 4 से 9 था और वो 14वीं लोकसभा थी. ये कमाल का इत्तेफाक है, इत्तेफाक नहीं ये सत्य है, सच का कि ये 14वीं लोकसभा थी. उसके 14 वर्ष बाद मैं आज पुनः मैं आया हूँ इस जगह पे. पुनः आया हूँ यहाँ पे और मैं उम्मीद करता हूँ कि जो आप जो काम कर रहे हैं, चाहे सौंदर्यीकरण के हो, चाहे प्रोग्रेस के हो, चाहे जो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर्स के विषय के हो, वो तो हो ही रहे हैं, वो आप सब देख रहे हैं. मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि जो अभी इससे पहले कभी देखा नहीं. जैसे मैं उदाहरण कहूँ, ईश्वर से डर के उदाहरण देना चाहूंगा, क्योंकि जिस वक्त हम प्रार्थना कर रहे होते हैं तो ये प्रार्थना होती है कि किसी की दृष्टि न लगे कि ये जो शहर में जो हम लोग कल्पना किया करते थे वो कल्पना का सत्य और कई शहर लेके बैठ गए. मुझे ऐसा लगता है प्रेरणा तो सब मुंबई से मिली है, और जो प्रेरणा मिली, जो आर्ट एंड कल्चर की हो, चाहे वो सितारों की और वो चांद की हो, वो जो सपना हम देखा करते थे, मुझे ऐसा लगा कि आदरणीय एकनाथ जी के साथ हम लोग वो पूरा कर सकते हैं, वो सपना साकार हो सकता है. और जो फिल्म सिटी है वो विश्व में, वर्ल्ड की जो मॉडर्न सिटी है वो ऐसी तैयार हो सकती है. मैं वो शुभेच्छा करता हूं कि जो माया नगरी से हम लोग जुड़े हैं और जो आगे निकले हैं और पूरी दुनिया में इज्जत मिली है, उसके साथ हम ईमानदारी से पेश आए. ये ईश्वर से प्रार्थना है, दुआ है, आप जो कहिए.
सर, लोकसभा निवडणूक तुम्ही लढणार का? मराठी सांगा. लोकसभा निवडणूक तुम्ही लढणार का?
मी ते काय सगळं विचार मी माझ्यावर ठेवत नाही. मी हे सगळं बघून घेतलं मी.
उत्तर पश्चिम
पहिलं तर मी आपल्या सगळ्यांना पुन्हा एकदा शुभेच्छा देतो आणि गोविंदाजी तुम्हालाही शुभेच्छा देतो. आज आपण मला भेटल्यानंतर सांगितलं त्यांनी की मुंबई बदलतीये, मुंबई आता चांगली वाटायला लागली आहे. मुंबई सुंदर.
Okay, we are shifting focus right now from those developments coming in from Maharashtra to an entirely different story, one that is also related to the elections. Just a few days after Supriya Srinath, the senior Congress leader, was called out for a post that she made, a derogatory post that she made about the actor Kangana Ranaut on social media. Right now, the Delhi LG VK Saxena sought a detailed investigation report from the Delhi Police Commissioner into this post made by the Congress leader. This is on the complaint, the written complaint of BJP leader Bansuri Swaraj herself. She's also going to be running from a Delhi seat within these elections. Remember, she's the daughter of esteemed BJP senior leader Sushma Swaraj. Let's go over to our colleague Anshul to understand more on this entire context. Anshul, for audiences that may ask why this investigation would be taking place from Delhi, can you fill us in?
So yes, Basuri Swaraj had written a letter to the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi where she had asked for an investigation into this entire matter, where this post was made from the handle of Supriya Srinath, in which derogatory comments were published against Kangana Ranaut, who has now been given a ticket from Mandi. Taking cognizance of this letter, the Lieutenant Governor has now written to the Delhi Police Commissioner, in fact has forwarded this complaint and asked him to carry out a scientific investigation in this entire matter, and if necessary, the Delhi police feels necessary to register an FIR into this entire matter and eventually arrest the person who has put this out, then that action should also be taken, because what the Delhi police has been asked by the Lieutenant Governor is definitely very significant, since he has asked them to actually also find the IP address from which this post was made, and the mobile phone or the digital object from which this post was made should also be traced. So yes, it remains to be seen how will the Delhi police actually go ahead with this entire investigation. At this point, no specific FIR has been registered, but yes, a complaint that was given by Basuri Swaraj to the Lieutenant Governor has now been forwarded from the SG office to the Commissioner office, and now from there it will be given to the requisite department where this entire investigation would take place, and eventually it remains to be seen if at all Delhi police will register an FIR in this entire matter, and post that will decide to take anyone in their custody for making such derogatory remarks against Kangana Ranaut.
So, Anshul, tell our audiences more context here, please. When Supriya Srinath first made the comment, she said that she had a team of people who was working underneath her. An investigation was taking place. Do we know if any member of her team was fired by her in the ensuing days?
So as of now, nothing of that sort has happened. Supriya Srinath has not fired or has not come out with clarity as to who was the actual person who made that post. It was her first defensive instinct that came to the fore as soon as this post was made. She came out and said that this was done by someone in her team. Who was that person? That person wasn't named. Over the last 3 to 4 days since the post has been made, there has been no clarity as to who from her team was the person who had made these posts. So yes, it remains to be seen how will Supriya Srinath eventually respond to this, and if at all she will take any action against the person who has done this, who has posted this on her behalf on her accounts. But yes, till now there is no specific action that has been taken by Supriya Srinath against her team. In fact, the name of the person who made that post has still not been made public by Supriya Srinath herself.
And tell our audiences, Anshul, one of the questions that BJP leaders asked when this entire controversy broke out was whether or not the final approval had come from Supriya Srinath. Even if a team member of hers made the post, did she see the post? Has she had anything to say on this matter?
So Supriya Srinath claims that she did not give any sort of approval, because remember there are 10 to 11 people in her team, and generally in political parties for leaders there is a big social media team that works, and it is the responsibility of that team to actually go ahead and post on behalf of the leader. Generally, for all posts, such permissions are not taken. But yes, Supriya Srinath has still not clarified that if at all she knew that something like this was being posted from her account. And as I said, there still has been no clarity as to who was the person who had posted this derogatory remark on social media on behalf of her.
Okay, Anshul, thank you for bringing us those details. Okay, we're going to shift focus from this story to an entirely different one altogether. A group of lawyers, 600 top lawyers, including Harish Salve. We'll just read out the names of the lawyers who are included in this group of senior lawyers. But they've written to the Chief Justice of India, D.Y. Chandrachud. They've written that pressure tactics are being used to pressure the judiciary to make judgments of a certain nature. The Prime Minister has also commented on this entire issue just a few moments ago. He's essentially implied that such kind of pressure tactics are an old Congress culture. We'll just play out reactions for you on this, then we'll connect with reporters for more context. Okay, we'll go over to our colleague Aman Sharma to understand more on this entire story. Aman, first question to you. Can you tell our audiences more about the contents of the letter itself? Can you tell us some of the senior leaders, the lawyers, the legal luminaries who've written this letter to the entire judicial community, to the Chief Justice of India? And then also, Aman, before we talk about the Prime Minister's response, tell us about the initial response in the judicial community to this letter.
Well, see, the prominent lawyers, 600 of them, obviously led by senior faces and top names like Harish Salve, Manan Kumar Mishra, Pinky Anand, Ujjwala Pawar, they have written to CJI Chandrachud, saying that they are concerned on attempts to undermine the judiciary's integrity. What they are basically saying that, certain vested interests amongst the lawyer community, they are indulging in methods where they are criticizing the judiciary. They are saying that they are employing pressure tactics to influence judicial outcomes, specifically in politically sensitive cases like corruption cases being probed by the ED and the CBI. The stand of the lawyers who have written to the Chief Justice is when the verdicts in these cases come in favor of the vested group, everything is fine. But when the verdict goes against them, they start questioning the so-called independence of the judiciary, say that the judiciary is not performing its job, also propagating false narratives about some golden era of the judiciary. Basically, these top lawyers have told the CGI that, in political considerations, certain vested groups amongst lawyers are politically inclined, and that is the reason that, it involves selective criticism or praise of the court decisions based on their political agenda. They have described it as my way or the highway approach, political flip-flopping, that when politicians alternate between accusing individuals of corruption and defending them in court, these underhand tactics are actually defaming the judiciary. That is what these lawyers have told the CGI in a detailed letter. Upon that, we saw the Prime Minister tweeting about it, saying that this is just another example to show how the Congress has always tried to browbeat and bully others. In fact, the Prime Minister went back 5 decades. When Indira Gandhi, the then Prime Minister, in the 1970s had called for a committed judiciary, 3 judges were superseded for a CGI to be made at that time. The Prime Minister referring to that and saying that they shamelessly want commitment from others for their selfish interests. 140 crore Indians are rejecting them.
Okay, that was our colleague Aman Sharma. One more aspect in this same story, a formal response coming in from the Congress party on this entire story. Let's just take a look at what they've had to say. This is Jairam Ramesh, the Congress communications in charge. He's written a lengthy response, but key lines that he said. Number one, he said it's the Supreme Court that was delivering body blows to the Prime Minister and to the BJP in the last few weeks. Jairam Ramesh has, of course, referred to the electoral bond scheme judgment. He said that the Supreme Court declared them unconstitutional, and it's now proved beyond doubt that electoral bonds were a blatant instrument. Jairam Ramesh is asserting that this letter is the BJP and the Prime Minister orchestrating, this is the language he's used, orchestrating and coordinating an attack on the judiciary in the name of defending the judiciary. Okay, our colleague Pallavi Ghosh with us right now to bring us a lot more in terms of context. Pallavi, with this response, Jairam Ramesh essentially turning the logic of this letter on its head by arguing that behind the scenes it's the BJP that's pushing this agenda that the judiciary is being attacked because of the manner in which the judiciary has ruled in the last few weeks. Just bring us more context, please.
Well, if I've got your question right, really, Toya, but now you look at the response which is coming in from the Congress party through Jairam Ramesh, very clearly a tug of war now taking place between the Prime Minister and the Congress party, and really the PM has hurt the Congress where it hurts them the most. When the Prime Minister refers to 5 decades back, he's actually talking about the Indira Gandhi times where she had spoken about a committed judiciary. That's the point which the Prime Minister is making. The counter which is then coming in from the Congress is pretty much what not just the Congress but all the constituents of the India Front Alliance have made, that every institution has now been reduced to being a subservient of the government, and how the example is being given of the electoral bonds. Basically what the Congress is saying is that the Prime Minister and the government is smarting under the Supreme Court's verdict on electoral bonds, and it's the BJP which indulges in anti-constitutional processes, and therefore today is a little rich coming in from the Prime Minister or from the BJP to put this accusation on the Congress party that they are the ones who are trying to control and micromanage the working, one, of the judiciary and second of the institutions.
Okay, Pallavi, can you tell our audiences, we were speaking a little earlier to our colleague Aman, who was telling us a little bit about the lobby of lawyers, the 600 lawyers that have written this. Now, there are senior lawyers in the legal community who over the last few years have been closely associated to the Congress. For example, Abhishek Manu Singhvi, Kapil Sibal. Are their names also included in that 600? Any key reactions from them?
See, basically, again, if I've got your question right, Toya, again, there were a large number of lawyers who wrote early this morning, and they've complained about the fact to the CJI, how the entire judiciary is under threat, how there are attempts being made to micromanage and bulldoze and bully the judiciary. They're essentially talking about certain influencers, they're talking about some political parties and social media thinkers and political thinkers who keep on raising question mark over the working of the judiciary. They also dictate to the judiciary how it should be working. That's where the Prime Minister responded to, and since the Prime Minister gave a very smarting counter to the Congress party, we saw that reaction also coming in from Jairam Ramesh and from the Congress. I don't think over the next few days you're going to be seeing an end to this kind of a confrontation between the opposition. After all, it's an election season really, Toya. It's been one of the favourite narratives of the opposition parties that how institutions, whether it's ED, CBI, the Election Commission, the judiciary, all of them are actually dictated and controlled by the government, and every time there's a verdict which doesn't seem to be favourable to the BJP, that's when they come under attack. So the opposition parties and the Congress are refusing to accept this point coming in from the Prime Minister and the BJP, that it's they who are dictating the terms and putting pressure on the judiciary.
Okay, Pallavi, do stay with us. Let's go over right now to RP Singh from the BJP, who's joining us right now on the show. We'll go over to him for his reaction to what the Congress has just said. Mr. Singh, thank you for joining us this evening. Mr. Singh, the Congress saying that this is all a behind-the-scenes maneuvered situation by the BJP. The BJP has, according to the Congress, encouraged these lawyers to put out this letter because it is the judiciary that's been giving the BJP a hard time in the last few months. Jairam Ramesh is talking in particular about the electoral bonds judgment that we've seen the Supreme Court come down quite harshly on several central institutions around. Jairam Ramesh essentially saying you're trying to remove the confidence of the judiciary by putting out a letter like this. How does the BJP respond?
Well, the BJP functionary elected on the judiciary giving that judgment? No. But yes, the opposition, especially the lawyers like Kapil Sibal and Abhishek Manu Singhvi or other lawyers, the way they react on each and every judgment of the court. I mean, we all know what sort of reaction they come out with on each and every judgment, and they also castigize judiciary at times. So that is sad part. I mean, the judiciary has the independent role to play. We also don't like certain judgment, but we fight it out legally, not castigizing the judiciary.
But it seems the Congress's point right now is that the timing of this letter, right after the Supreme Court has come down so harshly, so publicly on the electoral bonds issue, on institutions like the SBI, at this moment for this letter to come out, does point to something suspicious, according to the Congress.
I'm not able to relate the two because as I said, none of the BJP functionaries or the government functionaries has objected to the decision of the court. And this letter is independent of the party. I mean, no one from the party is the signatory of this letter. They are the independent people like Harish Salve and other prominent lawyers who have signed this letter.
Harish Salve has represented the country at many different points, sir.
So, no. He's an independent lawyer. I mean, anyone can hire him. Mr. Prashant Bhushan ji has been hired by many people, or Abhishek Manu Singhvi ji has been hired, or Kapil Sibal ji was hired, or is still being hired by many people. I mean, hiring doesn't mean that they are part of that organization. I mean, the lawyer has independent functioning. And
absolutely,
Harish Salve ji is long-standing also in the legal process, the legal system. He is one of the best-known lawyers in the country. He represents the country also.
Right, sir. I'm not arguing with you at all there, but I am saying that the Congress's assertion seems to be that because he has represented the BJP and the country, the government, in multiple cases, to associate him with the BJP, therefore, isn't the wrong thing to do. That's what they're saying, essentially.
Well, how does that snatches his right of representing on or talking on an issue? He is independent entity. He is independent entity and he has a good standing in the legal fraternity. He is probably one of the best lawyers in the country today, and who has represented the country also at the various
forums. The Congress is saying that the fact that this letter has come through now, there have, according to them, been multiple points in the past too where there have been judgments that haven't favoured either administration, but you haven't seen a letter like this. It's unprecedented to some degree. So to see a letter like this now...
This letter nowhere reflects, it's not pressurizing judiciary, it's simply saying that rather cautioning judiciary not to be pressurized.
Okay. All right. Mr. Singh, thank you for joining us here on the show. Okay, these are developments that have taken place over the last few hours. First, 600 lawyers. The visual we're showing you right now on the left side of your screens is Senior Advocate Harish Salve. He was one of the 600 lawyers. Together signed a letter in which they've pointed out, according to them, the fact that there are groups or lobbies within the judiciary that are pressurizing, using pressure tactics essentially to influence judicial outcomes. Okay, we have Udit Raj from the Congress who's joining us right now. Let's go over to him. Mr. Raj, thank you for joining us this afternoon on CNN News 18. Mr. Raj, we were right now speaking to RP Singh from the BJP, and we were taking to him some of the questions that Jairam Ramesh raises in his entire answer. Jairam Ramesh in his answer. Mr. Raj, firstly, have you seen what Jairam Ramesh has tweeted out? I'll share with you the details if you haven't.
No, I'm not seen it. Do let me know what is the question.
Okay, Mr. Raj, if I could just ask you, this letter has come out, 600 lawyers saying that lawyers are being targeted, pressure tactics are being used to influence judicial outcomes in the court. The Prime Minister has now come out in support of these lawyers. How is the Congress responding, sir?
Lawyers are being targeted or they are targeting?
Sir, they are saying that some lawyers are targeting other lawyers and the judicial outcomes of the courts. A lobby of lawyers.
Sometimes I am hesitant to say that whether they are lawyer or not. When the judgment was given on electoral bond and the Bar Association writes to the President of India saying that it should not be, it should be reversed or Supreme Court should be reprimanded. Such kind of lawyers are there in Supreme Court. Is it institution of independence? It's a surprising. And of course, previous Chief Justices and different judges, what they have done, of course I don't want to name them, but there is a name, there are different people that what have they not done. Recently, Kolkata High Court judge, he joined BJP and BJP has got kind respect for the sovereignty and independence of judiciary. They are running down judiciary, bullying judiciary. However, judiciary is trying to be judicious. But it's the entire paraphernalia and implementation system.
Mr. Raj, Jairam Ramesh,
the government of India.
Mr. Raj, Jairam Ramesh though is saying that the letter itself and that entire thought process is a fabrication of the Prime Minister. So Jairam Ramesh is arguing that it isn't true. All right, we'll just have to go into a quick break. Mr. Raj, thank you for joining us. We'd like to also thank RP Singh from the BJP for joining us. We're heading into a quick break. On the other side, more of the country's top stories.
We haven't had anything like this happen in Baltimore. All of a sudden, you're like, I saw it on the internet. I'm like, oh my God, a bridge collapsed somewhere. And then I'm 10 seconds in, like, oh my God, it happened here. So immediately you start transitioning the effects of this, and it turns into, we know that the maritime transportation is going to be cut off now, which is a huge part of what we do. We're bringing products in from all over the world, obviously, and we're exporting product to South America, the Far East, Europe as well. We can't ship anything out right now, so the exports have been shut off. So obviously there's nothing we can load in containers to go out of the country because there's no vessels to load it on. You know, the vessel traffic has stopped. So, and with no incoming containers, you know, that will be shut off as well. So sooner or later, you know, the port's going to just quiet down. It's going to be, hate to use the word, but almost like a ghost town here, probably within the next few weeks.
If we just have to,
yeah, everybody, I mean, we're not the only one who's affected this.
Okay.
Sorry, I gotta find a way to dig into it.
Yeah, it's just.
With the amount of cargo that comes into this country, you need to understand how, I guess, how fragile this can be. You know, who would ever think this would happen? I mean, this is, you know, everybody's worst nightmare, obviously, in Baltimore, the crazy things that happen. So there's a lot of behind the scenes that happen to get your, you know, your Amazon package to your door, or just being able to go to the grocery store and a local merchant to get your product. People losing their lives in this terrible accident and the tragedy. You know, hopefully we can locate these people, and my heart goes out to their families and everybody involved. But you know, the next step, you know, as per President Biden, is we need to get the channel back opened up. What that's going to entail, I don't know. We're working with the port daily, and you know, the state, local governments, to see what we can do to get everybody back up and running here. I'm just a small piece of what goes on here.
The Port of Baltimore blockade caused by the catastrophic bridge collapse is unlikely to trigger a new supply chain crisis in the US or spike the prices of goods. That's according to economists and logistics experts. They said that's due to ample and growing spare capacity at competing East Coast ports. Several people were still missing after a container ship collision destroyed the Francis Scott Key Bridge on Tuesday, and it remained unclear how long the wreckage would block the harbour's mouth. However, the rescue search for more survivors was suspended on Tuesday evening, about 18 hours after the incident.
Welcome back. You're watching The Nation at 5. The big development that took place as of just a few hours ago, a key development in the run-up to Lok Sabha elections, Chief Minister of Delhi, Arvind Kejriwal, sent back to the ED's custody. Now, this is going to be for another 4 days till April 1st. Remember, the Chief Minister became the first ever sitting Chief Minister to be sent into custody without a conviction in the country's history. This was last week, exactly 1 week ago, in the liquor excise policy case. The key allegation against the entire Aam Aadmi Party's senior leadership is that they were aware of funding, laundering of money that was taking place under the excise policy. The allegation is that the Aam Aadmi Party was using that money to fund their election efforts in other states, Punjab and Goa being key in this entire story. Now, we're going to bring you more context. We'll tell you more about what took place in court today, because Kejriwal himself spoke today in court. We'll talk a little bit about his dramatic statements in the court in just a little while from now. Right now, take a look at different reactions, then we'll connect with reporters.
की सरकार जो है वो जेल से नहीं चलेगी, What would you like to say on this? LG कह रहे सरकार जेल से नहीं चलेगी।
ये पॉलिटिकल षड्यंत्र है, जनता इसका जवाब देगी।
कि सरकार जो है वो जेल से नहीं चलेगी। What would you like to say on this? LG कह रहे सरकार जेल से नहीं चलेगी।
ये पॉलिटिकल षड्यंत्र है, जनता इसका जवाब देगी।
उनकी हेल्थ अभी ठीक नहीं है। आपके सीएम को बहुत तंग किया जा रहा है, बहुत परेशान किया जा रहा है, जनता जवाब देगी।
Let's go over to our colleague Ananya Bhatnagar. He's our legal correspondent to understand more about what was said in court today. Ananya, first tell our audiences about the statement that the Chief Minister made in court when he was defending himself. I believe one of the things he said was that of the 290 statements that have been made by witnesses, his name was only mentioned in 4. So he's essentially questioned the ED's need to have him in custody. Can you bring us more context?
It was a dramatic hearing before, in fact, Delhi's Rouse Avenue Court Special CBI Judge Kaveri Baweja was presiding over that hearing, while Arvind Kejriwal chose to personally, appear for himself today, and very clearly and categorically said that, only 4 statements are against me, 2.5 years of investigation has taken place, and the only need that the Enforcement Directorate had to keep him in custody is to destroy his party, was his claim before the court. However, he conceded that if at all the ED wants to keep him as long as into their custody, he is ready and willing to go into their custody, and that's the reason why his counsels were also not asked to actually, oppose this particular remand application. In fact, his counsels were not, completely submitted before the court today. It was Arvind Kejriwal who was addressing the court directly today. However, most of his statement, the Enforcement Directorate opposed it, clearly saying that, he was just playing to the gallery and no kind of a legal submission was being made by him. In fact, the Enforcement Directorate's remand note that we had accessed first for our viewers on CNN News 18 had very clearly and categorically stated that, he will be confronted with the people from Goa. The latest statements against him are from Aam Aadmi Party leaders of Goa, who had conceded that, payments were made to them in cash, and that cash had come from Hawala channels, since they had no money to fight the elections there. And in fact, this is the charge of the Enforcement Directorate as well. Though he raised questions on the money trail, he read the Justice Khanna's order as well with regards to the money trail. But the Enforcement Directorate defended it, saying that, it was the same Justice Khanna who had said that the money trail of 300 crores is made out, tentatively made out in its order denying bail to Manish Sisodia. So now, the future is that, Arvind Kejriwal will be in the custody of the Enforcement Directorate for the next 4 days. Post that, whether or not the ED would be seeking judicial custody for, Arvind Kejriwal is something that we'll have to wait and watch for. But fireworks definitely, continued in the court, and a detailed order copy of today's order is yet to be awaited. So we'll have to wait and watch as to what are the reasonings that have been given by the court while sending Mr. Arvind Kejriwal to 4 days of ED custody.
Okay, Ananya, we'll come back to you in just a second. Let's just play out more reactions in this story for our audiences. We'll come back to you.
सुनीता भाभी, सोचने वाली बात है। आपने कहा था कि अरविंद केजरीवाल भाई साहब कुछ बहुत बड़ा धमाकेदार बयान देंगे, लेकिन ना तो चूहा मिला ना चूहिया, कुछ भी समझ भी नहीं आया। क्या केजरीवाल जी कंफ्यूज्ड हैं या हम सबको कंफ्यूज करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं? क्योंकि सवाल तो यहाँ पे रिश्वतखोरी का है ना, पूरे शराब घोटाले का है, इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड्स का नहीं है। इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड्स तो खरीदे जाते हैं एक चेक देकर, बैंक के अंदर जाकर। ये तो छुप छुपाकर कैश के जरिए हवाला ऑपरेशंस के तहत ये तो पैसा दिया जाता है, एक तरह से ब्लैक मनी के तौर पर, रिश्वतखोरी के तौर पर। और रिश्वतखोरी क्यों की गई इस मामले में? क्योंकि इसमें मुनाफाखोरी करने दी गई प्राइवेट वेंडर्स को, प्राइवेट लॉबी को।
ईडी खुद ही कह रही है कि इतने दिनों की रिमांड के अंदर उन्हें कोई जानकारी नहीं मिली। जब इतने दिनों में ही कोई जानकारी नहीं मिली तो मुझे नहीं लगता कि फिर और कोई जानकारी की उनको ज़रूरत है। और एक चुने हुए मुख्यमंत्री को आप कितने दिनों तक जो है इस तरीके से कैद कर सकते हैं? तो हमारा उनसे निवेदन रहेगा, जो हमारी लीगल टीम है वो अपनी आर्गुमेंट्स रखेगी।
Let's go back to our legal correspondent Ananya Bhatnagar to understand more. Ananya, tell our audiences, Arvind Kejriwal obviously making that deposition in court so that he wouldn't be given back to the Enforcement Directorate. At the same time, the ED also asked for him for 7 days. They only got him for 4 days. So is this neither a win for the ED or Kejriwal, or is that not how you'd frame it for our audiences?
Well, generally when enforcement agency asks for, in fact, a specific days of remand, that is not necessary that, they will be given that particular day of remand. If you remember that on the last occasion as well, the Enforcement Directorate had sought for a 10-day remand and he was remanded to 6 days of custody. The court actually goes into the merit of the remand application. It sees as to what the agency wants to do, and generally, generally speaking in law, a lesser days of remand is actually given, which is sought for only in extraordinary circumstances, like just if you remember the parliamentary breach case where the accused had to be taken to a lot of places. He does not have to be taken to a lot of places. He is to be interrogated here itself, and that's the reason why only 4 more days of police custody remand has been given, total of 10 days that would be, and what the investigation of the agency would be in those 10 days is something that would be crucial to note on the next date of hearing when for extended custody of 4 more days ends. However, while the Aam Aadmi Party and in fact Arvind Kejriwal himself before the court stated that all these allegations of the Enforcement Directorate are to keep in fact the BJP winning and in fact to keep the Aam Aadmi Party curbed. Though these are not a part of a legal submission, they cannot save Arvind Kejriwal from the clear question as to where is the money trail that the Enforcement Directorate would be asking. So we'll have to wait and watch as to how things pan out in the Enforcement Directorate's investigation in the next 4 days and what happens next in this particular case.
Thank you, Ananya, for bringing us those details. We're going to head into a quick break. On the other side, more of the country's top stories. We're also continuing to keep an eye on this story in just a few minutes.
We haven't had anything like this happen in Baltimore. All of a sudden you're like, I saw it on the internet. I'm like, oh my God, a bridge collapsed somewhere. And then I'm 10 seconds in, I'm like, oh my God, it happened here. So immediately you start transitioning the effects of this. And it turns into, uh-oh, we know that the maritime transportation is going to be cut off now, which is a huge part of what we do. We're bringing products in from all over the world, obviously, and we're exporting product to South America, the Far East, Europe as well. We can't ship anything out right now, so the exports have been shut off. So obviously there's nothing we can load in containers to go out of the country because there's no vessels to load it on. The vessel traffic has stopped. So, and with no incoming containers, that will be shut off as well. So sooner or later, the port's going to just quiet down. It's going to be, hate to use the word, but almost like a ghost town here, probably within the next few weeks.
If we just had to,
everybody, we're not the only one who's this.
Okay.
So wait, I gotta find a way to dig into it.
Yeah, it's just.
With the amount of cargo that comes into this country, you need to understand how fragile this can be. Who would ever think this would happen? I mean, this is everybody's worst nightmare, obviously, in Baltimore, the crazy things that happen. So there's a lot of behind the scenes that happen to get your Amazon package to your door, or just being able to go to the grocery store and a local merchant to get your product. People losing their lives in this terrible accident and the tragedy. Hopefully we can locate these people, and my heart goes out to their families and everybody involved. But the next step, as per President Biden, is we need to get the channel back opened up. What that's going to entail, I don't know. We're working with the port daily and the state, local governments to see what we can do to get everybody back up and running here. I'm just a small piece of what goes on here.
The Port of Baltimore blockade caused by the catastrophic bridge collapse is unlikely to trigger a new supply chain crisis in the US or spike the prices of goods. That's according to economists and logistics experts. They said that's due to ample and growing spare capacity at competing East Coast ports. Several people were still missing after a container ship collision destroyed the Francis Scott Key Bridge on Tuesday, and it remained unclear how long.
Welcome back to The Nation at 5 right here on CNN News 18. We're now bringing you a special interview. This is a story that you may have seen gone viral a few days ago. Satyam Surana is a student of the London School of Economics in the United Kingdom. He was running as the General Secretary for the Students' Union, and in that election campaign, he says that a smear campaign took place. He says that initially his campaign received support, but that towards the end moments, there was a wave of criticism that came in. That criticism was actually manifested in posters of his being drawn on, written on. And Surana himself claims that all of this took place because of his support, his open support of the Indian Prime Minister Modi. We'll go over to Satyam to understand more about his entire experience. We'll also ask him more about questions that students in the community have raised. Satyam, good evening. Thank you for joining us here on CNN News 18.
Good evening, Toyaji. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Satyam, tell our audiences first a little bit about exactly what you say happened. So I know you've posted screenshots on Twitter, for example, where you've shown exactly what's taken place, but just tell our audiences, please, what happened.
Yeah, so I was running for the LSE Student Union elections for the position of General Secretary, and the campaigning started on 11th of March. The voting was due on 18th and 19th of March. And we went along to the entire campaigning week very positively. We received immense support from the entire international student community here at LSE. But somehow on the 15th, we noticed that some of my posters have been defaced, and then we realized that this is some kind of a hate campaign wherein I individually am being targeted and not any of the other candidates. Then surprisingly on 17th, that is just 12 hours before the voting started, random messages started being circulated on all the LSE groups, on all group chats of societies, accommodations, courses, etc. that see right wing out of campus. This is what the heading of the message read like. So these messages read that the Satyam Surana is an ardent supporter of BJP, and these messages were extremely contemptuous and seditious for the government of India. These messages questioned the position of India in Kashmir. These messages questioned the ongoing situation in the Northeast. These messages questioned the government of India and alleged that the government of India is bombing central parts of India. So these are entirely baseless and contemptuous and seditious messages that were going around.
Satyam, tell us what happened when you spoke to, or did you speak to authorities? How did they react? Because this isn't the first time. Last year there was a similar incident. A student from Gurgaon said something very similar had happened to him in the same university. Did you have a chance to speak to authorities?
I definitely spoke with the authorities, and I immediately brought this to the notice of the student union as well as the LSE security. They just asked me to file an email complaint, and they are still investigating the matter. The LSE security is still investigating it. I have even taken this issue up with the LSE harassment and the bullying committee, and even they are saying that they are working on the matter. There has been no substantial progress in the said matter or identification of people yet.
Okay. And Satyam, can I ask you, I did get a chance to look at how you've communicated on social media, and one of the answers, one of the things that people are commenting, and I did want to ask you this directly, is that some people say that they were not opposed to India, they were opposed to the Prime Minister and the featuring of the Prime Minister and the BJP in some of your social media posts in the past. How would you respond to that?
See, my answer is clear to this. Even in my social media post, the people who have started the hate campaign against me were not against me. They were against Modi. They were against the successful Prime Minister of India. They were against PM Narendra Modi. And that is the sole reason that has made them to make anti-India statement. It is clear that people are making
Satyam, I
anti-India
just want to
because they're
ask you,
anti-Modi.
one second, that's what I want to ask you. So one of the things people are saying online is that there's a conflation of India and the Prime Minister happening here. They're only criticizing your support for the Prime Minister. What would you have to say to them?
No. If you read the messages carefully, these messages never criticized my support for the Prime Minister. These messages claim that I was a supporter of the Prime Minister, but ultimately the maximum 90% of the messages were focusing on India's territorial integrity, sovereignty, and how Indian government is doing all sorts of bad things. And they were just tainting and maligning the image of the Indian government, nothing else.
Okay. And Satyam, lastly, I want to ask you, do you think, and I'm going to ask you what you think needs to be done to raise awareness, because you've talked about your issue. There's been a similar issue, as we told our audiences last year too. What more needs to be done? Because London itself is very, very diverse. There are active international communities in each of these cities that we're talking about today. What more needs to be done then?
See, what I think, and it really hurts, it breaks my heart that majority of the people involved in this hate campaign are not people from the international community, but people who are fellow Indians, who we are yet embarrassed to call them fellow Indians because they are circulating such messages. We need to spread awareness among people, and we need to identify these people and give them an answer. I am shortly going to write to the Union Home Minister and the Union Foreign Affairs Minister to initiate an NIA inquiry in this matter. I am going to send them an email and I am demanding an NIA inquiry. I know who these people are who have forwarded these messages, and I will be cooperating fully with the government of India, and I will be giving them each and every detail of the people. We need to get down to the bottom of the nexus of this syndicate who has initiated this hate campaign, not for me, but against the Indian government.
All right, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for taking out the time to speak to us here at CNN News 18. We're going to move on from this story now to an entirely different one that is playing out down south in Kerala, where the Enforcement Directorate raising the heat on the daughter of the Chief Minister of Kerala, Pinarayi Vijayan. Take a look first at reactions, then we'll bring you more context.
ഈടിന്റെ കാര്യം കൊണ്ടാ കൂലിക്ക് പണിക്കുന്ന പണിയെടുക്കുന്നല്ലേ, അതിനെന്താ വലിയ വിശ്വാസം? നിങ്ങൾക്കെന്താ വലിയ വിശ്വാസമാണ്? രാജ്യത്തെ വിശ്വാസത തകർന്നു പോയി എന്ന് സുപ്രീം കോടതി പറഞ്ഞ ഏറ്റവും പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട ഏജൻസിയാണ് ഈ പറയുന്ന ഇഡി. ഇഡിയെ മഹത്വവൽക്കരിച്ച് ചോദ്യങ്ങളൊന്നും ചോദിക്കേണ്ട കാര്യമില്ല, അത് അതിന്റെ രീതിയിൽ കൈകാര്യം ചെയ്യും.
But the Congress is also alleging that this is basically to put pressure on the CM so that it will help the BJP in the state of Kerala.
Well, then, if that is the logic, then Arvind Kejriwal should be helping the BJP. Lalu Prasad Yadav should be helping the BJP. Rahul Gandhi, who's got cases against him, should be helping the BJP. Chidambaram should be helping the BJP. This is all very twisted, warped logic that makes no sense. When some crime is committed, then in a country like India, where there is a democracy, there is a rule of law, the person who is accused of a crime is held to account by the police, an investigation is launched, and the courts decide whether the person is innocent or guilty. This is how the system works. It works for whether it's a small person or a big person. In the past, under the Congress, it never worked like this for the big people. That is why the Congress is shocked. That is why these parties are unnerved by the fact that the system that they used to command and hold hostage and make sure never investigate crimes for the rich and the powerful, today is doing exactly the opposite, is doing the same thing for regardless of whether they're big or small. That is something that they are not used to, and that is why all these victim cards have been pulled out of their pocket.
Look, I mean, justice will have to take its course, and I have to leave it to the processes of the law. If there is, as you know, many of my party members have pointed to certain anomalies in these transactions, and therefore, if there is a case, it should be proceeded against. This is somewhat different from a case in which a sitting chief minister was himself arrested. This is a matter involving a private citizen, and certainly the law must take its course.
See, the central investigative agencies have initiated action against Chief Minister's daughter. Those who say this is harassment, this is political attacks, they should first explain what was the service provided by the Chief Minister's daughter. So that is why this is considered as a kickback. So for the kickback, Naturally, there will be an inquiry. Things will have to come out.
Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. It was a day of dramatic hearing in court over Arvind Kejriwal's custody battle. The Delhi Chief Minister in ED custody took this opportunity to make his own case in court and lashed out at the ED for a political witch hunt against him and his party. The Aam Aadmi Party leader also declared that he is not opposing ED demand for further remand and that they can keep him in custody as long as they wish. Despite some of his statements in court, there was no luck as far as the particular matter is concerned because his custody was indeed extended till April 1. Kejriwal probably knew this was bound to happen too. Standing up in court is more a political strategy than a legal ploy. But there was some other relief for him today, also possibly expected. A PIL filed to dismiss him from the CM post was rejected by the Delhi High Court, refusing any judicial intervention in this matter. So once again, the biggest question is if Arvind Kejriwal will continue as Chief Minister despite being in custody, and if precedents are anything to go by, he could be in jail for quite some time, as have been colleagues Manish Sisodia and Sanjay Singh in this very case. As of now, there are no signs of any change of mind. In fact, it also seems the